Alright, here we are looking at binomial distributions, and this one is a close second to probability distributions as far as the weirdness of the stuff you have to punch into your calculator. This one is the TI-89 version, so I'll work this out again with the TI-84, showing you how to do that. So the TI-89, doing this one, okay, after extensive research, it is determined that 32% of all Spain Park students have no soul. A thorough physical is conducted on 5 randomly chosen students to determine if they do not have a soul. Now this is the weird part, and whatever the percentage is that I give you, that is your success percentage. So my success, and I know that sounds weird, but in this case, the success is having no soul, because that's the percentage that I gave you. So having no soul is a success, and we call the percent, or the probability of success, P, which is 0.32. Failure, and this again sounds weird, but failure is having a soul. So failure in this case is if you do have a soul, and the failure is referred to as Q, which is going to be the rest of the probability. So if 32% don't have a soul, that means 68% do have a soul, and that would actually be failure in this case. So whatever percentage they give you, we're going to call that the success, and then I randomly choose 5 students. So N, the number of students, is 5 that I choose. And then I want you to construct a binomial distribution for this information. Alright, so the binomial distribution, and something is wrong with my throat, so if I stop and sound weird or start coughing or hacking, I don't know. Alright, so for the binomial distribution, what we're finding is the probability that of these 5 that I did a survey on, I chose 5 students, it tells you the probability that one of the 5 doesn't have a soul, because that was success. So we're looking for the probability that 1 does not have a soul, the probability that 2 of the 5 do not have souls, and that's what we're looking at. So the possibilities are that 0 have a soul, that 0 don't have a soul, that 1 doesn't have a soul, 2 doesn't have, 2 don't, 3 don't, 4 don't, and 5 don't have souls. Then I'm going to throw my chart on over this way. And then to find the probability for each one of those, let's see, I'll carry that down a little more. The probability that 0 do not have a soul. So the probability that 0 do not have a soul, it's going to be, I started with 5 students, excuse me, and I want 0 of them to be successful, and success is 32%. That's the percent that don't have a soul. And so 5 choose 0, and then the success percentage, we want 0 of them to be successful, which means we want all 5 of them to be unsuccessful. So 0.68 to the 5th. And then we'll throw that in the calculator. Then if I want 1 of them to not have a soul, then that will be 5. I want 1 to not have a soul, and then 0.32 to the 1st, and 0.68 to the 4th. So I want 1 to be successful, 4 to be not successful. 5, now I'm at 2. I want 2 to be successful, so 0.32 to the 2th, and 0.68 to the 3rd. And we keep going down following that pattern. Alright, so we have all of that punched in. Now we need to throw this in the calculator, and the one thing I want to make sure we remember how to do is to compute combinations in the calculator. And it's a little bit different for TI-89s and TI-84s. This is the TI-89. So if you have a TI-89 and you want to compute a combination, so my first one is 5 choose 0. Let's see, I wonder if I could squeeze it in. Let's see. There we go. Now we can actually see the problem while I do it. Alright, so my first one is 5 choose 0, 32 to the 0, 0.68 to the 5th. The way I do a combination is I'll go to the catalog. So I hit the catalog button, and it's NCR. So I'm going to hit the N button, which is, where to go? Above the 6. And NCR is first. And we want 5 choose 0. So 5, comma 0. And there's my 5 choose 0. Now I need to do 0.32 to the 0 power, and 0.68, whoops, between parentheses, 0.68 to the 5th power. I'll hit enter, and I get my decimal of 0.14, and I'll round this one to the third, 0.145. Good, 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 good. And then I will punch in the next one. My next one is 5 choose 1, 0.32 to the first, and 0.68 to the fourth. And the beauty of the TI-89 is I can just go back and change it. So 5, I'll delete that, choose 1, 0.32 to the first power, and then 0.68 to the fourth power. Hit enter, and we get 0.342. So 0.342. That tells me that there is a 34.2% chance that exactly one of the 5 students does not have a soul. There is a 14.5% chance that none of the 5 do not have a soul. And then we'll go through and we'll calculate each one of these 5 probabilities. And so I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, and there you go. So those are the probabilities that this number of the 5 do not have a soul. So the highest probability looks like 1. So there's your highest probability. Then 32.2% chance that exactly 2 of them do not have a soul. Because remember, not having a soul is considered success. And let's see. Now we got to answer some questions. Number 8. The mean and the standard deviation. We actually could have done that, number 8. I'm going to move it over here. Number 8 we actually could have done before we even did the chart, because your mean and standard deviation are based off your values of P, Q, and N. So the mean or mu is simply your probability of success, P times N, which is 0.32 times 5, and 0.32 times 5 is 1.6. Your standard deviation is the square root of N times P times Q. And so we'll punch that in a calculator. Square root of 5 times 0.32 times 0.68. And you get 1.043. So mean and standard deviation you can do without that table. Now we do need the table to answer these other 2 questions. What is the probability that exactly 2 of the 5 students have no soul? And that one's not too bad, because that's simply that percentage right there. So the probability that exactly 2 of the 5 do not have a soul, that will be 32.2%. Now 10 is a little bit different, because 10 I'm asking you for the probability that at least 3 have no soul. So that will be the probability. What I'm looking for is I want 3, 4, or 5. And I want the probability of any of that, right? So I'm looking for the probability that 3, 4, or 5 have no soul. And to answer that one, you simply will add up the percentages for each of those 3. So 15.2 plus 3.6 plus 0.3, and punch that in. And you get 19.1%. So you have a 19.1% chance that at least 3 of the 5 do not have a soul. So there you go. That is a binomial distribution using the TI-89 to compute your combinations.